Howdy ho, and welcome to Spoilers, movie review of South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut. My name is Pappy, and I have the privilege of hosting this week because I won a trivia contest last week on a podcast I don't remember, Face Off. The host that week was Money Mike, who can't be with us today, so I'll defer to the guy who hosted the podcast before that. Stevie, you hosted The Gray. How you doing tonight, man?
Dude, I'm kind of bummed there was no spoiler at the beginning of this track. I was like all amped up, like, what's Pappy's spoiler? What's it gonna be? No spoiler.
Yeah, I kind of didn't have it in my notes. It would have been Kenny ascends into bag heaven.
Oh, that's a great spoiler. But
I'm
doing really good. Excited to talk about this movie from a show that I love.
And Stevie, I wanted to ask you about the Gray podcast. That was a really good episode. I like the part where you called me chicken shit for how I win my trivia matches.
It's bullshit. You're like the people on Price is Right that like I get angry at and want to throw shit at the TV for when they do it. Someone's like, $580, Bob, and they're the highest bid, and one little asshole's like, he won't say his true feeling. He's just like, 581. It ends up being like 1,000. I mean, it just little stuff like that bothers me.
Hey, I play to win the game, just like our other co-host tonight. Guy who has the box office mojo numbers ready to go, Brett Kelly out of Fort Wayne. What's up, Brett?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Do you remember when this movie came out?
Yeah, I saw it in the theater.
You were old enough to.
Yeah, not technically. My Uncle John took me.
Nice.
He cracked up at the rim job line. I still remember that.
What's a rim job?
Oh, why, that's when you put your legs behind your head and have someone lick your ass.
So,
That's
Brett,
a really explicit part.
how did the movie do at the box office?
The box office, domestic 52 million, foreign 31 million, for a total worldwide 83 million and some change.
What was the budget on it?
The budget was... Go ahead, talk amongst yourselves.
Well, while Brett looks that up, let's introduce the last member, our last panelist, Josh.
21 million.
Thanks
Hey,
for that,
guys.
Brett.
So, yeah, I'm just really disappointed because we asked Brett a couple of times to have that ready for us when we started. But
I had.
It's all good.
I've never been in the site before. I don't know where the budget is.
When Jared's
I'm
not
just
here,
joking.
you're the stat boy, Brett. We talked about this. But Josh, I know you're a big fan of South Park, right?
I don't know if I'm a big current fan. Over my lifetime, I've been a huge fan, huge proponent. The show's made me laugh. Like, Brett and I are in agreement that we both think Trey Parker is like a modern day genius with very few peers. But yeah, excited to get into this movie.
What's an olden day genius?
A modern day?
I know, but what's the difference between like a modern day genius and an olden day genius?
Well, like Leonardo da Vinci was like olden day.
Okay, I just didn't know there was like a stark difference. All right.
I would say like current age. How about that? Like
Gotcha.
current day.
That works.
So this is your first episode of Spoilers because you're a big South Park fan. Our episodes always start this blazing hot. Then we get into reviewing the movie, and then we'll play a little, or we'll give our yes or no's, and then play a little trivia game to decide who will be next week's host. But today I just want to kind of break down the movie. I think it makes sense to do it song by song. And if there's any like talking points for the plot in between, we should talk about those. But we are here to talk about South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut, the 1999 musical taking place in South Park, Colorado. Stevie, we'll open up with you. The movie opens with Mountain Town.
It opens up like a Disney movie.
Yeah, I knew you would love that. What did you think about this opening number?
I absolutely love it because, I mean, for those who've listened to in the pod before, I'm absolutely obsessed with Disney animated movies. And I loved it. I mean, I think Stan, I mean, people, you can say Cartman now, but I always think of Stan as the main central character to South Park. I thought it was awesome how they opened up with him. And the song Mountain Town is a great song, which is probably playing now. And I absolutely loved that it just opened up like a Disney movie.
There's a bunch of birds in the sky, and some deers just went running by. Oh, the snow's pure and white on the earth, rich and brown. Just another Sunday morning in my quiet
had a part that made me realize South Park is a little dated now. As they're walking up, kind of the culmination of the song is them saying that off to the movies we will go where we learned everything that we know. And I definitely think that's like a generation maybe like X and above sort of thought, because if you ask anyone like our age or younger, they're going to say like the internet
YouTube
is where
or
they
something,
learn
yeah.
everything.
X hamster. Yeah.
God damn it.
So that was just like a quick thing that made me realize the age of this movie. But as far as my favorite part, I don't know. This is a genius song that just builds really well. I think my least favorite part is when they go to the moms for their solos.
Yeah.
Who's your least favorite mom?
Kyle's mom is a bitch.
Kyle's mom is the biggest bitch.
I do like it when Stan's mom says that he like wears his smile like Jesus wears a thorny crown or some shit like that.
He's tender and mild. He'd wear a smile while he wore a thorny crown. What an angel with a heart so sweet and sure, and a mind so open and pure. Thank God we live in this quiet redneck mountain town.
Yeah, and the song is like just kind of introducing each one of the characters. I like when Cartman's introduced and he's just, yes! The prospect of going to the movies, which is what this whole movie is about. It's definitely Josh, would you say it's a meta film about South Park's place in pop culture today?
Dude, you tell me, dog.
I would say it is because the boys are off to see a movie called Uncle Fucker, and with the help of a drunken homeless person, they are able to secure tickets. Uncle Fucker is the Terrence and Phillip movie from Canada, which definitely mirrors, I would say, probably a lot of the way people see South Park, and probably anticipated a lot of the way people would see this movie. One of my favorite scenes from this song, which is playing right now, is the way when the whole theater clears out, but the four boys in the front just love it so much, and they're just like standing up, dancing in their seats, loving it.
How is your favorite part not the first fart solo? It's so funny.
Yeah.
I love the line where the parents are clearing out and I forget what she said exactly. She's like, oh my God, that was so gross. And the husband looks at her and goes, what do you expect? They're Canadians. I don't know why, but I laughed so hard at that part.
Before we move along from Uncle Fucker, I think this brings me to like my main new takeaway as I watch this movie this week. And I think the one downfall I see in this movie is that it kind of preaches to its own choir a little too hard. And I think that scene where they're watching and they all, like the whole audience is like clearing out because it's so obscene, it's kind of like what they see happening with their own audience. So like by the time you get to like any of their messaging in this movie, the ending, it's, you know, it's been weeded out so thin that you're just preaching to like a small core group of people that are going to sit through an hour worth of like clitoris and Uncle Fucker jokes. I mean, there's not many people that want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would say that the big difference would be, though, is that the music is very much of a high caliber in this movie, which we'll talk about a little bit later, too. Whereas, like, Uncle Fucker is literally, like, fart solos, like we talked about. So on a little bit different, like, level.
Well, I think it's funny, too, is because you have to expect that parents took their children to see this movie without realizing what it was. And I thought it was so brilliant. You start out with a soft song like Mountain Town and jump right into the profane, like the most profane laced song you could put in a movie in Uncle Fucka. And I mean, I guess like Josh said, they're preaching on choir because you have to imagine parents were running out of the theater with their children when that song came on.
Their ears plugged.
I've made a huge mistake.
What have I done, Uncle Fucka? Like, just, I don't know, that's the way I look at it.
The thing I noticed when I watched it a long time ago, and I know why they do the line, but I always thought it was almost like a mistake. Probably not a mistake because Trey Parker doesn't make mistakes, but like when he said, but the animation's really crappy.
Dude, I love that joke, though. That's
no,
the best
great
joke.
joke.
Don't get me, I do like the joke. I'm just saying it's like, it wouldn't be animated in their world, but, you know, that's just... the joke is so good that it's not really a big deal. So
That joke comes out of nowhere and has no character development, but it was like simply Trey Parker poking fun at South Park's animation.
And just
For
the,
sure.
the way that they hop too is so like extra robotic. Hop, 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 hop. It looks so extra fake. But that's a good transition because they hop away from the movie theater to the Charlie Brown Christmas scene where everyone's skating on the pond.
Totally.
And one of my, this is like a little sub song, but I do want to touch on it. Stan sings, "There's a girl that I like," and this is like
This
an
song
older.
is horrible.
It's like an older gag though. It's like, Brett, do you want to say what happens every time Wendy, Stan's crush, comes up to talk to him?
oh, he pretty much pukes in her face. So
It's the way the song ends every time too.
Would you guys agree though that song is like, there's like no really sustained melody. It's just like, girl, I like. I should
Yeah.
be.
Well, you have to also
political
imagine it as like
too.
Stan, as like like Stan making that song up on the fly in his head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's why it kind of leans towards its crappiness.
So the main gang convinces the kids of the pond to go see the movie, and I love the way the scene transitions out because like all the other kids run off, and then Cartman just looks over to Kenny and goes, "I hate you, Kenny," for no reason. But so the next day they're in school, and this movie's become a giant hit. And this is one of the most iconic scenes in the movie too. Maybe we can play the clip now.
Come on, don't be shy.
I think I know the answer, Mr. Garrison. Shut up, fat boy! Hey, don't call me fat, you fucking Jew!
Eric, did you just say the F word?
Jew? No, he's talking about fuck. You can't say fuck in school, you fucking fat ass.
Kyle!
Why the fuck not?
Eric!
Dude, you just said fuck again.
Stanley!
Who?
Kenny!
What's the big deal? It doesn't hurt anybody. Fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck.
How would you like to go see the school counselor?
How would you like to suck my balls?
What did you say?
I'm sorry. Actually, what I said was... How would you like to suck my balls, Mr. Garrison? Holy shit, dude.
One of my favorite lines that actually comes after this rant when the kids are in then Mr. Mackey, the school counselor's office, and Cartman raises his hand and goes, "Mr. Mackey, can I ask you a question?" Okay. What's the big fucking deal, bitch? So, I mean, and then the movie kind of carries on for a little bit. Do you have any scenes, like, from when, like, the moms walk in? Stevie, you've said several times that Kyle's mom's the biggest bitch. Do you want to kind of explain how they react to this news?
Kyle's mom is, I mean, I have to imagine there's one in every school, but Kyle's mom is that typical mom at like a PTA meeting raising hell about everything, every little thing. And they've even made like gags about it in this South Park season about how Kyle is becoming like his Jewish mother. And pretty much Kyle's mom goes on this huge like anti-Canada campaign.
Which I might add is probably the weakest storytelling because it's just like one song and all of a sudden it's like a nationwide militarized
Blame
movement.
Canada?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're not.
Blame Canada!
We're not
Are we
quite.
that-
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
We're not quite there yet, but it is funny how like the moms throughout this whole movie like never blame their sons. Like even when like Kenny's on like a hospital bed, like they come in and like are
Yeah.
yelling at their kids. But we got a couple like little quick songs in here. We got another "There's a Girl That I Like" while Stan's in line at the lunchroom. I don't think we've mentioned what's the kid from Yardale's name? Gregory, the fancy
yeah.
kid. Where he has a 4.0 grade point average at Yardale.
Yeah, Pap.
Gregory. And then Stan's talking to Chef about how to please a woman. Josh, do you remember what the advice that Chef gave to Stan was?
Yeah, and I already said the word earlier, so I'm not going to say it again, but he tells him to find...
We'll just play that sound bit again.
Clitoris. Yeah, so he tells him to find like a part of the female anatomy. Clitoris. Like, in typical Chef fashion, says it, and is like, "Oops, did I let that slip out? Move along now, children." Which sets Stan on an hour-and-a-half quest to find said female anatomy part, which is highly inappropriate. Clitoris. for a grown man to be saying to find that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That, you needed to add
Well,
that.
no one was talking.
I was just
so-
gonna let it breathe for a second, but while that breathes, we can listen to the Uncle Fucka remix that plays because Terrence and Philip are tearing up the airwaves. Jumping ahead a little bit, the next big song is Mr. Mackey trying to correct the kids' behavior with "It's Easy, Okay."
I love that song.
Josh, what do you remember about this song?
Everything about it, man. When this song started playing, it was stuck in my head for like a day and a half.
Totally.
And I think it's so funny that they're telling them not to cuss while they're cussing, and fuck is the worst word that you can say, and then they just say that. Yeah. It's pretty clever. It's another really clever song. Like Trey Parker, I don't know how he does it. He's a brilliant songwriter.
Yes.
I love the when they're talking about giving hand jobs for smack, and all the little kids do like a hand job motion. Stevie, are there any parts of "It's Easy, Okay" that stuck out to you?
I remember when I first watched it, I just loved. Was it Mr. Mackey?
Yeah.
I just loved his mannerisms of speaking and his cadence of "okay," and just how he was kind of like a refined hillbilly. That's kind of like the first way I looked at him. So that's what really like stood out to me, other than like the actual song itself.
Can someone explain to me the bitch one? Bick is
It's Latin for generosity.
Doesn't teach him how not to say it, but
Well, it's also kind of like a commentary too of like how, like when you watch an R-rated movie on TV, they'll like, have like ridiculous like fill-ins, but like, and this is like kind of like giving a bunch of examples of, but like the first verse of this song is Mr. Mackey telling them what to say, and it's like all of the kids and like sing it back to him, like in, like this poo is cold, like with a handful of like shit, and like they're all like saying like fuck and shit and stuff. So, Mr. Mackey gives them the day off because they're now quote unquote rehabilitated, and they all go straight back to the Terrence and Phillip movie. So coming out of the movie, we have the key plot point where Cartman bets Kenny that he can't light his own farts on fire. I really fucking love this scene because Kenny lights himself on fire, and then Cartman just starts beating him with a stick, and then he goes, "Oh no, the stick's on fire!" And they get rushed off to the hospital where they have one of our first celebrity cameos. Brett, do you remember who that celebrity cameo was, playing a doctor?
George Clooney.
Absolutely, yeah. And then Kenny
That's
dies.
a funny scene.
Yeah.
With the
this is
baked
a step
potato.
up for George Clooney after having to play a dog barking
Mhm.
in an earlier season.
In the first season.
They gave him basically the same role that he plays in ER, except he ends up microwave. I think he ends up putting a baked potato in Kenny's body instead of a heart.
Yeah.
It never gets any easier.
All right,
That's
let's go.
true.
Do,
Yeah.
do, 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 do.
So Kenny goes to hell, of course, almost specifically because he didn't go to church that morning and he went to the Terrence and Phillip movie instead. Stevie, what's the song that plays when Kenny's going to hell?
Oh, what's it called?
Hell isn't good.
You're in hell.
Little boy, you're
going to hell.
And sang by the amazing James Hetfield of Metallica.
What do you guys think about that hell scene, though? It's actually kind of freaky, isn't it? Little boy getting sent to hell, and demons are like pulling his body apart. I mean, we were
With the numbers in the trillions and rising.
There's like 1,000
and
people
like the
in
number
heaven.
is stagnant in heaven.
Like the Gandhi thing. It's kind of creepy, yeah.
is that 1600 number in heaven? I think that's a Mormon joke.
Yeah, and then they make the same joke in the show.
Yeah.
Well, Brett, you mentioned that Gandhi was in hell. There were a lot of like, I mean, you saw Hitler, but there's like also like a lot of like Gene Siskel is in hell. Like, it's like a lot.
Yeah, George Burns. Wasn't it George Burns, or was it?
I definitely remember Gene Siskel, and not surprisingly, Roger Ebert fucking hated this movie. But
Man, that's rough.
that jumps right from Little Boy You're Going to Hell to the Oscar-nominated Best Picture song, Blame Canada. Josh, you want to talk about what the song's a little bit about, since you are a parent?
Before we hit it, do you guys want to know the people in hell?
Yes.
Saddam Hussein, Michael Jackson, Steve Irwin, the Canadian Minister of Mobile Gaming, and Adolf Hitler
Sounds about right.
are some that really stuck out in this movie. John Wayne Gacy was there, Jeffrey Dahmer, George Burns, correct. Let's see here, Billy Mays, Conan O'Brien was in there.
Conan.
Princess Di, Frank Sinatra, Gene Siskel, Ted Bundy, Walter Cronkite. Let me see who else here. And those are the ones that everyone's really going to know.
So I think this brings up the point of, like, what's the deal with these two guys' like fetish for killing celebrities in everything they do? Why is that such a draw for them?
Well, the first like 3 seasons were pretty much like shock humor and crude humor. That's why I think they really hit their stride from seasons 4 on. Not saying seasons 1 and 3 weren't good, but they did do like an interview once where they talked about their favorite episodes and their least favorite. And for their least favorite, they said every episode from seasons 1 through 3.
But they didn't. I mean, it's not like all their celebrity deaths are in season 1 through 3. They have them all throughout. They're in Team America. They have brutal stuff at like. That's one of their shticks, is to really turn the celeb world on its head and not give a shit about it. Like when they walk the red carpet high on LSD cross-dressing.
Well, that's
Like,
what I
it's
was trying to
kinda-
get to, is the blame Canada. Is a total irreverence for the whole Hollywood celebrity culture. But you touched on it a little bit, is that Blame Canada was nominated for Best Original Song. And then, Josh, I guess, do you want to tell the story a little bit of how they showed up for the Oscars that year?
I don't know the whole backstory, but, you know, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are kind of like anti-establishment, so they get this movie that's advertised as toilet humor. They get the Oscar nomination, and they go and just totally kind of shit on it, honestly, for better or worse.
Dresses.
Yeah, they wore dresses, even though neither of them are like gay or transgender that I know of. And I guess in later years they've interviewed and said that they're like, quote, high as balls on LSD. So again, I think that does go back to the celebrity killings off. Like, they have a deep hatred for Hollywood.
I think they just make fun of how serious celebrities take themselves.
Well, they've been on record saying they only really truly hate one celebrity, and that's Barbra Streisand.
Which comes up later in the movie, too.
Yeah. So everything else is just like complete total fun for them, I'm pretty sure. But they like totally despised Barbra Streisand for some reason.
The song you've been hearing, Blame Canada, has been playing in the background. It lost to Tarzan's You'll Be in My Heart, Phil Collins, for Best Original Song
The comeback.
at the 2000 Oscars. There is a Robin Williams performance of Blame Canada because he was the host that year at the Oscars. It's pretty shitty. He forgets the words at some point. It's pretty cringy.
All I can say is I give out this Canada. Everybody! With Brian Adams' beady eyes, Margaret Trudeau's friendly card. Shame on Canada. Hold on. Smoking us up, trash us up, and fun must all be done.
So those first like 4 songs like really clip along like within the first 30 minutes. We'll kind of go through a dry spell a little bit here, but we get some like I guess geopolitical developments where Canada bombs the Baldwins, Bill Clinton declares war, and then back in hell we find out that Satan and Saddam Hussein are in a gay relationship. Was there anything that jumped out, I guess, for you guys in that part?
Yeah, I was talking earlier about the high barrier of entry for this movie, and I think all the blasphemy with going to hell and getting denied to heaven, and then Saddam Hussein whipping out realistic dildos to like fondle Satan with, like, it's a lot. And I've always been like I don't want to say like open-minded enough, but like this never really bothered me, but
No.
it's very easy to see why people would be turned off by this stuff. And that's what sticks out to me about this scene. Like, I didn't particularly love it. It's just kind of like gross. Saddam Hussein's character is like so wormy, nasty.
Well, Stevie, what's the dynamic of the relationship between Saddam and Satan? Can you?
So, okay, so Satan is a submissive to a very dominating Saddam,
Who only wants to like fuck
And-
all the time?
who only wants to, fuck, never have any intellectual conversations or ask Satan how he's feeling. And Satan is just a little bitch throughout this whole movie.
Like I love how like at later points Satan's reading like Saddam's are from Mars, Satan's are from Venus, like
Mhm.
trying to reconcile their relationship. Like I
Super
don't know,
sensitive.
yeah. I think it's just silly. Like they're pushing the boundaries of free speech. Like, Josh, were you offended by the religious content at all?
No, but it made me realize I knew a lot of people that would be or are.
That makes sense.
Nah.
No, Brett?
Well, yeah, but I mean, nothing they've ever done has ever offended me. So
I'm not
But yeah.
talking about you. I'm talking
Yeah.
about your parents, maybe? Or...
nah, no. My parents bought me the Volume 1, South Park Volume 1 for Christmas one time. They thought
Sorry,
it was like the
everyone in
funniest
Brett's
thing.
life is very progressive, but me,
Yes,
I grew
yes,
up
we
in
are.
Indiana. I grew up in northern Indiana, so I know a lot of people that...
Me too, but you know, whatever.
Well, yeah, the same thing that sucks about being a Baldwin that sucks about being a Kelly. Nothing. But
No, Josh, I'm joking. I totally agree with you. I mean, you can everything they've ever done. I can totally see how it offends people. I mean, that's kind of what they go for sometimes. So I agree with you. I'm just messing with you.
Well, this is like purposely offensive, and it's like they're pulling out all the stops. I can't believe they didn't actually have Jesus show up at some point.
he
'Cause
does.
He's kind of a...
It's when the army is marching by when Ike is in the closet. It's, I don't know what I've been told. Canadian pussy is mighty cold. Jesus is in that.
Hey guys, I found out why they hate Barbara Streisand.
Oh
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Wait, we're talking about a Jesus cameo.
No, go
Okay,
ahead. Go ahead, Stevie.
No, but it's just been sticking. I've been reading this article for the past 10 minutes. So that's why I haven't been speaking that much. So back in the early 90s, in Aspen, or just in all of Colorado, had this vote on something called Amendment 2, which they passed, and it pretty much voided and prevented like gay people like from going after people that like it pretty much made it okay for like hate speech against gay people. And the state of Colorado like voted for that. And I guess like a lot of ski resorts like really suffered because during this, Barbara Streisand was telling everyone like who had like Hollywood homes, not Hollywood homes, but like ski resort homes and stuff. People like a lot of celebrities that used to frequent the ski resorts to stay away from Colorado because they hate gay people. This is that and the other. Even if a town voted down on it, the state still voted for it. And I guess a lot of ski resorts went under and a lot of people lost their businesses in Colorado during this.
Well, yeah, I can tell you from living in Colorado that Aspen and Vail and the cities that they're going to are not anti-gay people. Those aren't the...
Yeah, so like even like those like like Aspen voted it down, but still the state of Colorado like voted for it. So I guess Barbara Streisand had a lot of sway and a lot of people ended up losing businesses.
Well, it sounds like Barbara Streisand is a lot like Kyle's mom in the sense that she's a bitch, which is the next song that we come to
For sure.
in the movie. This is one of my favorite songs.
Damn it. You guys, this is all Kyle's mom's fault. Shut up, Cartman. Kyle's mom is the one that started that damn club, and all because she's a big, fat, stupid bitch. Don't say it, Cartman. Well... Don't do it, Cartman. Well... I'm warning you. Okay. I'm getting pretty sick of him calling my mom. Well, Kyle's mom's a bitch. She's a big, fat witch. She's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world. She's a stupid bitch, and everyone's a bitch. She's a bitch to all the boys and girls. Shut your fucking mouth, Cartman. On Monday she's a bitch, on Tuesday she's a bitch, and Wednesday to Saturday she's a bitch. Then on Sunday just to be different, she's a super king, Kamehameha, bitch. Come on, you all know the words. Have you ever met my friend Kyle's mom? She's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world. She's a mean old bitch, and she has stupid hair. She's a bitch, 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 bitch,
but it's the element of like it's a small world after all. It's the
Yes.
jazz hands at the end. It's the it's the wind up at the beginning. It's just so perfect. This is probably my favorite song.
Mine as well.
It's got to be one of the best, if not the best.
I think the wind up makes a song just
Don't
because
do it!
you can just see how frustrated Kyle's getting, and it's so classic because 3 times Cartman cuts off and he goes out of screen, and on the 4th time he slides into screen just going off. So perfect.
I love how like the kids who are singing the chorus like la 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 like show up like in a chorus line and like dance through the frame. Like it's just so hilarious.
And they all know
Even
the
Stan
song.
joins in.
They're clapping on Monday. She's a bitch. On Tuesday, she's a bitch.
The biggest bitch in the whole wide world.
So yeah, so the plot like does clip on a little bit. We get Dr. Voxnacher, who's played by Eric Idle from Monty Python. He installs the V chip in Cartman's brain, which is this was like a TV thing, wasn't it? Like a V chip, like a parental control.
Yeah.
So that's like a double kind of entendre there. More commentary on the whole censorship aspect. Skipping ahead a little bit, the boys are deciding that they need to get more political because of like the Mothers Against Canada rally, and they ask themselves what a certain celebrity would do in order to combat this oppression. Brett, do you remember who that celebrity was?
Yeah, Brian Boitano.
Do you remember those Olympic Games? You were certainly old enough to have taken part.
Indeed. The 88 Olympics.
I don't quite remember 1988, but so no, not really. I have a very few tiny memories of the Olympics in it. Pretty much Greg Louganis hitting his head on the whatever you call that, the platform, which was a really big deal, even though it wasn't a big deal at the time because he had HIV. But anyway,
I feel like I get this joke, and I love the Brian Boitano stuff, but do you guys have like a really good feeling for who he was actually? Because I have no idea.
I do now, and the funny thing is like he's absolutely embraced his stardom from this movie. His Twitter, I tried to tweet at him to get him to come on the podcast. He didn't respond at all. But his profile picture is Brian Boitano from the movie. Like still,
yeah, I read that he had to get permission from them to use that.
He hosts a show on Food Network called "What Would Brian Boitano Make?" and the title of the show is "What Would Brian Boitano Do?" But "do" is crossed off and "make" is like written over it. Like
That's funny.
this has definitely just only been a boom for his career. And like one of the funny stories too is like he found out that he was gonna be in this movie. Like a friend told him like, "Hey, like South Park, like you're in the new South Park movie." And like, you know, like at this point, South Park has this reputation of like Barbra Streisand and everything else. So he goes to the movie by himself and is so relieved because the song, which you're hearing now, like portrays him as a superhero. He can like breathe fire. He can like save the day. Like it's, I love
didn't
this
realize
song.
how big of a deal that gold medal was.
I don't think it really was.
Well, I was listening to like commentators talk about it, and I guess like he wasn't even supposed to win it and just pulled off like perfect back-to-back routines.
What would Brian Boitano do if he was here right now? He'd make a plan and he'd follow through. That's what Brian Boitano do.
When Brian Boitano was in the Olympics skating for the gold, he did 2 stock cows and a triple Lutz while wearing a blindfold.
When Brian Boitano was in the Alps fighting grizzly bears, he used his magical fire breath and saved the maidens fair. So what would Brian Boitano do if he were here today? I'm sure he'd kick an ass or two. That's what Brian Boitano do.
I want this speech out of me. It has stunted my vocabulary. And I just want my mom to stop fighting everyone.
For Wendy, I'll be an activist too, cause that's what Brian Boitano do. And what would Brian Boitano do? He'd call the kids in town and tell them to unite for truth. That's what Brian Boitano do.
Someone say my name?
Who are you?
I'm Brian Dennehy.
That had to have been the best day of his life at the theater that day.
It's an awesome song.
So we jump back to hell. We find out that Cartman's mom was in a German Scheisse video.
Oh man.
Ugh.
So there's the funny story behind this too. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Brett, have you seen this? You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. if what I think you're talking about is they wanted to originally have what, like a horse having, is that what you're talking about, Pat?
Yep.
Yeah, a horse have sex with Eric's mom, but the MPAA or the probably more the studio, they were like, yeah, we can't do that. So they settled for the much less gross thing of him crapping on her and in her mouth and stuff, which I think is one of the grossest things of all time. But and then they kind of like snuck that little joke in with that Dr. Volkstatner. He held a picture of a guy having sex with a horse, so they always find a way to get their jokes in there.
It's interesting too that that's where the studio came down.
Yeah.
It wasn't the studio; it was the MPAA. Actually,
Was it the MPA? Okay, so
Yeah.
I was right the first time. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was.
And there's like an internal memo which once every couple of years makes around on Reddit or whatever. But maybe we'll have a spoiler man read this, but I'll read it verbatim. This was a memo from Matt Stone to the MPAA regarding cuts and changes they had made. It was official letterhead. Here's our new cut of South Park the movie to submit to the MPAA. I wanted to tell you exactly what notes we did and did not address. We left in both the fisting and rim job references in the counselor's office scene. We did cut the word hole from asshole as per our conversation. Number 2, we took out the entire God has fucked me so hard in the ass so many times scene. It is completely gone. Number 3, although it is not animated yet, we put a storyboard clarification in with the Saddam Hussein's penis scene. The intent is now that you'll never see Saddam's real penis, but he was in fact using a dildo both times. It's like when you think about that, like they probably submitted the scene with the penis knowing that we're going to roll it back. Like, we want the dildo scene, but we're going to ask for the penis scene and see what we can get. Number 4, we shot the fact we shot the animated scene that reveals that Winona Ryder is not in fact shooting ping pong balls from her vagina. She is in fact heating ping pong balls with a paddle. We took out the reference to cum sucking ass in the film, and then finally we left the scenes where Cartman's mom and the horse, as per our conversation. This is the only joke we really want to fight for. Call me if you have any questions, Matt. P.S. This is my favorite memo ever. So it was a big back and forth with the MPAA and like what these guys were trying to like get past them, which I think is a big part of the whole movie. But
That's the overall message, isn't it?
basically, like the whole censorship thing. But back in hell, we get, oddly enough, one of the songs that's one of the straightest in the whole movie. There's no cursing, no actual jokes. Josh, do you want to talk about Up There, sung by Satan?
Sometimes I think, when I look up real high, that there's such a big world up there. I'd like to give it a try. But then I sink, 'cause it's here I'm supposed to stay. But I get so lonely down here. Tell me, why does it have to be that way? Up there is so much room where babies burn and flowers bloom. Everyone dreams I can dream.
Yeah, this is probably the most boring part of the movie.
I love this song. I love it so much.
You're a fan of musicals, and I'm not. So when these songs aren't peppered with jokes or like gross out humor at some point, like I really get kind of bored, to be honest. But this song is basically Satan showing his sensitive side once again, and basically revealing that how he's going to deal with Saddam is going to be a huge plot point. Is there anything else really in the song that?
Well, if it's right, I think it's like super funny. Did I read that? That's Michael McDonald singing at the end, like the high notes at the end.
I could be safe and live without a care. Live without a care. If only I could live.
So skipping ahead a little bit from there, we're dealing more with the war conflict with Canada. We get the first scene with the generals. Stevie, do you want to explain what Operation Human Shield was really quickly?
Oh man.
Hold on, I'm forgetting. Ask someone else.
AKA get behind the darkies.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
Operation, what is it called? Shield?
Human Shield.
Human Shield.
Human Shield.
Is basically Trey Parker showing that the military is and always has been racist and sends people of color to the front line. And it culminates with the scene of Chef leading that team that Pappy just said, and them like completely like
the all black
Shield.
unit with Chef and everybody.
It's a really like racist, like it's saying the military is racist. That's basically what the joke is in a nutshell.
Hey, wait a minute!
All right, jumping ahead quickly, Stevie, are you prepared to talk about La
Let's just
Resistance?
breeze by that.
Yeah.
La Resistance with the kids that get together, that amazing song.
Go ahead. Yep.
What's his face? Gregory belts out this awesome tune. Now, is this kind of like in direct reference to Les Mis?
Definitely.
Have you guys seen Les Mis?
I saw a production of it at University of Western Michigan one time, but not
So is this song pretty like in close relation to it then?
that. I couldn't tell you. It's based on a specific song from Les Mis, but I don't know which one it is.
I think I think this could be tied or probably second best song just because it actually is a really good song. Wouldn't you agree, Pappy?
Yeah, it's just like the way it builds in all the components that have been like teased throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like,
The song is called One Day More from Les Mis.
Gotcha. And plus they throw in like Blame Canada on there. And what other songs they throw in there during like the La Resistance
there's
scene?
like this part, shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. He's like classical music horns, like accentuating
Yeah.
it.
So I will be going soon.
Shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. You're a boner biting bastard, Uncle Fucker. Looks like we may be out of luck. Tomorrow night, we're pretty fucked. Why did our mother start this war? What the fuck are they fighting for? When did this song become a marathon? When Canada is dead and poor, there'll be no more Celine
Then they stripped it in half and serve it to a pig. And though it hurts your laugh and it does a dickless cheek, but that's the way it goes. And more you're shattered on the fire. La Resistance lives on.
Well, let's jump ahead a little bit because Gregory does tell them that, like, all right, you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. So he tells them about the mole. Kyle hides Ike in his attic, and they go to meet the mole. The mole is a cigarette smoking. He's not even an atheist. He just like hates. He believes in God and like just hates God. Like, he's like, God's a fucking pussy. Like,
He cracked me up. He was good. He was a good character, I thought.
like his mom's friend, she's like, he said naughty things about God. Like he can't come out and play. But the mole agrees to help him break into the USO show with Big Gay Al and Renata Ryder and save the day. Then really quickly before we get to that scene, we get like my least favorite song. It's not bad, but the I Can Change sung by Saddam Hussein. It's fine. Do you guys have any points on that?
I just don't
think
understand
yeah.
why they wanted to push this Saddam Satan plotline so hard. They just really needed to show that like initial thing, and then when they came up at the battle at the end, it would make sense. Satan is like the second or third main character in this freaking movie. Satan.
Well, and one of the things too, though, about Saddam Hussein, like similar to what we talked about on The Departed, is that, and similar to Team America, when this came out, Saddam Hussein was both still alive and in power. So maybe that's like more shocking. It doesn't resonate in the same way today. I'm not sure.
It also fed into a little storyline when they came back from the movie, I think, or was it right before the movie? So I don't know. I doubt they'd want to push him so hard just for an episode of the show. But I don't know. I thought it was just kind of they wanted to show Satan as the sensitive guy who's misunderstood and doesn't really want to be down there. And then who really wants to be in the real world, but in Saddam, who's kind of just exactly how you think Satan would be. I don't know. Maybe it's just some little paradox type thing they wanted to do. I don't know if I use that word right or not, but we're going with it.
Pappy, what's your thought on not only this movie, but just South Park's portrayal of Satan?
I think that what the point of this movie ultimately is to push what is tolerated by the MPAA. And like, even though this movie does have moments of gratuitous violence, it's more like, should we be able to say what we want to say without getting slapped with an NC-17 rating? Which is what they were pretty much up against the whole time. Like, it took draft after draft after draft to get it to even be a rated R, and it's very telling. I don't know when it comes in, like, later in the movie, that they're saying that, like, you know, gratuitous violence is okay, but, like, you know, sacrilege or too many F words or anything else isn't. So I think
that's kind of like the thesis statement of the movie, right?
Yeah. So maybe, you know, like Poe's Law, they're trying to be like sarcastic or tongue in cheek with their, like, you know, obscenities, and to some extent, you know, there'll be some like percent of the audience who like actually, you know, doesn't really get it. But I think that what they're doing is smart, and it works on a lot of different levels. Yeah. Do you get it? Play the "Do you get it" clip. But my favorite part, going back to that I can change, is when Satan is like, his eyes turn into hearts because Saddam's like, I'm gonna change now, and does like a break dance and like seduces him into being like friends again. But we jump ahead to the USO show. Stevie, what do you remember about the USO show? What stands out to you from that scene?
When they're gonna kill Terrence and Phillip.
Yep.
I absolutely love how like Kyle's mom and the other moms, or PTA moms as I would call them, have like those anti-Canada shirts, and how pretty much it's kind of building up to this point of, if the U.S. like kills Terrence or Phillip, then Satan is gonna rise. And I thought it was hilarious that like when like the kids were surrounding like Terrence and Phillip, like, hey, don't kill these guys. Was it Kyle's mom that pulled the trigger? Yeah. I absolutely love how like Kyle's mom just can't stand it that the kids are still rallying around these guys, and she kills them anyway. And that's when like the battle of the two armies breaks loose and all hell ensues.
Literally, like hell
comes out. Like demons come to play.
Make the sound of a dying giraffe. Things are hitting the fan here. So yeah, I guess just to get to the end of the movie, we got to wrap this shit up. Cartman finds out that the V chip that was implanted in him endows him with superpowers when he cusses, and Kenny sneaks up, and because of the role he's played like in a therapeutic sense for Satan grants him one wish. Kenny wishes everything to go back to normal. So there's a Mountain Town reprise as Kenny goes up to heaven.
This is where Jesus should have shown up.
Thanks, Josh. Any other notes in this final scene? Or
I thought the animation was brilliant when Cartman was going full like Super Saiyan on everybody.
Oh yeah,
like the animation looked really high end. Like it looked to me like it would take a long time to like produce that. I thought it was one of the best shots of the movie.
It's kind of like a Dragon Ball Z knockoff moment. He goes like Super Saiyan, and like it's kind of funny. The main curse that he says at the end, that's like the finish him kill, is just Barbra Streisand. Yeah.
Fuck, shit, cock, ass, titties, butter, bitch, muff, pussy, cock, butthole, Barbra Streisand!
Well, then I do like the aspect too is like they're saying Mountain Town again, and then like there's killer whales like jumping out of nowhere, like in the foreground, and then Kenny's going up to heaven, and it's like heaven is just like a bunch of like girls with big boobs, and that's where he's going. And then there is a post-credit scene in this movie. Did any of you guys see that?
No, what is it?
Ike's still in the attic. And franking, he's like eating a rat, like still playing his harmonica.
God, Ike is so good.
Yeah.
Which, that's a question of mine about this movie. Why did they let his storyline fall to the wayside?
There's a lot of things I would have liked to see. I like to see this movie explore Butters. There's a lot of characters I wish it would have gone more into. But
I think this is pre-Butters.
It is, yeah, it definitely is pre-Butters. He didn't come around till, as a big part till late season 4, early season 5, maybe after Kenny dies.
He does have he has 2 great moments though, where he falls on his face during La Resistance, carrying the flag, and when Cartman's like, "Who wants to touch me?" and Butters goes, "Ugh," because he saw the Transformers movie.
The thing I think people don't realize is I think Butters is actually in the first episode, just like as an extra, and they almost just like handpicked that extra later on to like develop and make a full-fledged character. Ended up being one of the best characters in the whole series, too.
Definitely.
But also, like, we never mentioned Kenny. I don't know, Kenny's reveal of his hair color early in the movie, and then like his face, which is basically just like Stan except with blonde hair. Like,
true, yeah.
Those were like the first times. That was kind of a big deal. I remember thinking when I saw this for the first time, like, "Ooh, they're finally showing what's under the hood." In hindsight, it's just like a joke and really funny. But I remember feeling like that when I was younger.
I hate you, Kenny.
Anybody else with any final thoughts, or before yes or no?
Just a random thing. I don't know why I find it so funny, but I think maybe my favorite or most underrated line is the earlier about Bryan Adams. Does anybody know what clip I'm talking about?
The Canadian government has apologized for Bryan Adams several times.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's the one.
Can I finish, Brett? Brett, can I finish, please?
I think every time the Canadians are on
Brett,
the film,
can I finish? Brett,
so.
Can I finish, please?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Stevie, any other final scenes that we missed that you liked?
I think you pretty much touched on all of them. I'm trying to think if there's anything that kind of stood out to me other than the fact that I would just say the Canadians in general. I think that's what made me laugh the hardest throughout the movie. Is just, do you guys like understand why they like use them as like half heads?
No, but
is there an inside joke to that I have never known?
Well, so Dom's also a half head too.
Yeah, like what is
some reason?
Is it faster animation doing it that way? I don't know.
They have super fast animation anyway, so
the half heads and beady little eyes, I believe.
With the beady little eyes, blame. All right, Steve, we'll go you first. Yes or no, then, for this film?
I'll give this a yes. It's definitely not the high point of South Park lore, but it's definitely not the lowest point either. It's just kind of like in the middle of the road. But it's also early, like in South Park lore, so they haven't had a chance to build up all the characters that we love. So I'll give it a yes. I think it's a solid movie, and I laughed quite a bit.
I'll also give it a yes. It's one of my favorite like comedic musicals. I think it works on even if you haven't seen like a lot of South Park, if you're not familiar with it. Really funny movie. Not the best movie to spoil. Hopefully it sounds good with the music, but it's just like really funny to talk about. So we'll see how that works out. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, this is huge yes for me. This is a big part of, I don't know, off to South Park where I go, where I learned everything that I know. Like, this movie taught me probably what that female anatomy part was in the first place. Clitoris. Just to be honest.
Chicks dig confidence, Josh.
Yeah, you probably had to look it up in the encyclopedia.
The handwritten one, not encyclopedia.com for you youngins. But I like what Stevie said about it being kind of middle of the road South Park lore. I agree with that. It's not like their funniest, best character development and stuff, but I do think it's maybe the moment where Trey Parker outed himself as a great musician. And so for that reason, like, it does still stand out among the best South Parks of all time. And yeah, big yes.
And Brett.
Pretty much, I was going to piggyback on what Stevie and Josh said. Just to touch on what Josh said earlier. I mean, I honestly think Trey Parker is the most talented person in the world, and that's not hyperbole. I really think that. I think he's the most brilliant person in Hollywood, or before, ever since. So, but I'm with Stevie, though. I think, like I said earlier, I think they hit their stride season 4 and 5 when they started doing the faster episodes, the fast turnaround times, so they could talk about hot topics of the day. And I think it kind of culminated in season 8, which I think is one of the greatest seasons of any show ever. If you get a chance, go check out those episodes. It's definitely yes for me. But yeah, I'm with you guys. It's kind of pre-political.
I really think they hit their storytelling stride right after this movie. So I agree with like season 4, like it's like a really like big like jumping off point.
Yeah, and then for sure. And then they actually go to 4th grade. So they grow up a little bit and they start thinking about different things. And I think that's it propelled the show up to, I think, their best moments, which are, again, I'm a huge South Park fan. So it's definitely yes for me. A solid yes. I'm with Josh. I think it's brilliant. It's just not something that I would go back and watch all the time just because it's a little dated and I like their newer stuff more. So definitely yes.
Well, there we go. That's 4 yeses, so that makes it some sort of preserved food. Before
Cheesy
we do
puffs.
trivia, cheesy poofs. Before we do trivia, we have an iTunes review from October we never read. This is from Anna Camp. 5 stars. Good guys, great spoilers. Keep it up, fellas.
Thank you, Anna. Very sweet.
So,
Thanks, Anna.
there you go.
There's a little bit more to that story, actually, too. At Adam Jakoyak's bachelor party, I took this super close up of Brett, posted it online on our Instagram, and it just said, "Listen to our podcast, bitch." And Anna actually responded to that post and said, like, "I left you a review, bitch." It was pretty funny.
Whoa.
She thought that was you, Brett, so I just want to know you guys have that.
Do I know her or what?
Well, trivia time. So, this is going to be a hybrid of a game we played before. We're going to try to identify the episode from the show by the name of the episode. But this is 2.0. It's been upgraded, bigger, larger, 4th grade edition. So, we have 5 shows. South Park, The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Family Guy, and SpongeBob SquarePants. That's in the thread for you right now. So from those 5 shows, I picked an episode, one from each of those first 5 seasons. Your guys' task will be to name me the show based on the name of the episode. Now the new caveat is that each one of you will get 4 passes during the course of this game. If you pass a title, it'll go to the next person in the order, but I'll eliminate one of the movies from those 5, so it'll be a little bit easier. Single elimination. You can't miss one. So I highly encourage you to use your passes as much as possible.
How many passes? 4?
4. And I'll
Is
keep
it
track
one
of
and
those for
done?
you guys. There are 20 one and done, so you can't miss.
But we're seeing who can get the most right. Without
No.
missing.
Last man standing. When you miss, you're done.
No. But is there only one question?
There are 25.
Okay. That's
One from each show from each of the first 5 seasons. So again, South Park, The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Family Guy, SpongeBob SquarePants. The order tonight will be Brett, Stevie, Josh.
Lame.
Oh man, I'm the longest.
Well, Brett, you didn't watch the whole movie. So we'll start with you.
Oh, I did. Outed me, man.
Brett, your episode is When You Wish Upon a Weinstein.
Family Guy.
Correct. Big non-pass. So we'll go Stevie. Stevie, your episode is Idiot Box. You can pass. Remember, it's one and done.
So I will pass.
Good call. Josh, Idiot Box is not from South Park.
Pass.
Brett, Idiot Box is not from South Park or The Simpsons. Is it from King of the Hill, Family Guy, SpongeBob SquarePants, or do you wish to pass?
I'm gonna have to pass on that.
All right, Stevie, Idiot Box is not from South Park, The Simpsons, King of the Hill, or
Nope.
or King of the Hill. There's 2 left.
Man.
So it's not from South Park, Simpsons, or King of the Hill.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah. Do you want to guess? You can also
Well, no,
pass.
I'm
but
asking. Is it so? South Park, Simpsons, and King of the Hill are.
The Simpsons or King of the Hill have all been eliminated. Yeah.
Just to expedite the game, I'll say Family Guy.
Incorrect.
And he
Steve's
gave
been
you
eliminated.
that.
I just
Steve.
want to get the game over with. I'm tired.
No, but he said King of the Hill, so I'm good.
Stevie took a dive.
Yeah, this
Clearly
episode's
It's
getting
easy,
long.
okay.
Stevie's pissed.
Sorry, Stevie.
Ready?
Josh. There's no disgrace like home.
Pass.
Brett, there's
Pass. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
not from South Park.
Pass.
Josh has 2 passes, not from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Pass.
Brett, not from Family Guy. There's no disgrace like home.
Oh man, if I pass him, giving it to him.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I'm deciphering.
He's in a tight spot.
There's no disgrace like home. Let's just see where this goes. I'm gonna pass.
Josh, there's no disgrace from home is not from South Park, King of the Hill, Family Guy, or SpongeBob SquarePants.
I'm gonna say The Simpsons.
Correct. So Josh has 2 passes, Brett has 1.
Hey, he should have 3, shouldn't he? Whatever. 1 left. I thought he had 1 left too.
I do have 1 left, Pap.
Yeah,
Alright.
you missed that last one for him.
Alright.
That was my strategy.
Worldwide recorder concert, Brett.
South Park.
Josh, Marge versus the monorail.
I'll say The Simpsons.
Brett, Death has a shadow.
Family Guy.
Josh, Here Comes the Neighborhood. You have 1 pass, I believe, correct? Here Comes the Neighborhood.
I think that's SpongeBob. I'm gonna go with SpongeBob.
God damn it, Brett's the winner.
South Park, baby.
What episode is that?
It's the one where
Season
everyone. I'm not
5.
gonna. Will Smith moves in, and then every.
Brett, what's the movie?
Pap, you sound so
Are we
excited
taking
about
spoiler
it.
man?
All right,
Taking spoiler man?
Wait, no. Before we hit spoiler, man, I need to do a quick Instagram plug. AndyYM.fx. He said, quote, on Instagram, South Park the movie, it's one of the smartest, funniest musicals of all time, disguised and advertised as meaningless trash toilet humor. Sorry to make you wait the whole episode, Andy, to hear that, but Andy's our new friend on Instagram, Andy Mauger. He's like a budding, aspiring character and FX creator. He's looking to make it big. So are we. So
Well, I appreciate Andy
Thanks,
for
Andy.
listening this long to the podcast, which I'm sure he did. Brett, what movie
The
will you
movie-
be?
We're going to be doing is a 1992 classic, My Cousin Vinny. Yep. Cool, guys. Thanks for listening to spoilers.
Is that the one with, like, Joe Pesci is like a cop and he tries to break into a kid's home?
No.
I think he's a
Joe
bank
Pesci's
robber.
No.
He's a bank robber, right?
That's
And he's trying to get like
I
a
hate all you
surgery.
guys
And
right
he's
now.
like yelling Attica out in the street or something like that.
Are you basically saying all Italians are the same? Because you just named a bunch of movies with Italian leads.
Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcast spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme. Our number is 903-776-4507. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe on SoundCloud or iTunes. Please don't forget to leave us a review by searching for Movie Spoilers, clicking on the cereal bowl, select the Reviews tab, and leave us some stars and some words. That was Spoilers.
All right.
There's no pain. You are. That's definitely not. That's Van Morrison singing that.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it
No.
is. Yes, it is.
It's Roger Waters. I saw it.
No,
You were
okay. I
there?
promise you.
Yeah,
It's definitely not Grateful Dead, like Pap.
No, Van Morrison. Okay, but it's not Roger Waters. It's some other guy.
I don't.
I-
I
So that
disagree,
wasn't
but-
live Pink Floyd?
I disagree.
I'm the one who added the track to the
Ooh.
podcast. I saw the name and the artist.
There ain't no pain. Maybe they mislabeled
hold
it
on,
because it
hold on.
sounds so fucking bad.
Hey, Pappy, we're all right, okay?
It's
You're-
Van Morrison with Pink Floyd.
It's Roger Waters, Van Morrison, Rick Danko, Levon Helm, and Garth Hudson. But it doesn't
Garth
mean it's
Brooks.
not Roger Waters.
The band.
Doesn't mean it doesn't sound like ballsack.
All right, let's
It
start.
sound like shit. All right, you guys ready?
3, 2, 1.
Clitoris.